My brother sold my building without asking. He thought I was powerless, but I took everything back. I stared at the text message on my phone, reading it 3 times to make sure I understood correctly. My brother Marcus had just informed me, not asked, informed, that he'd sold my building, the one in downtown that I'd purchased 6 years ago, when the neighborhood was still considered up and coming. The text had come through at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was in a meeting with the City Planning Commission about the new zoning proposals. My phone was on silent, but I'd glance down when it lit up during a break in the presentation. Sold your worthless building for $200,000. Family needs the money more than you. No question mark, no request for permission, just a statement of fact, as if he had every right to liquidate my property. I set the phone face down on the conference table and returned my attention to the zoning maps. The building Marcus was referring to, the worthless one, was currently valued at $8.5 million. According to the last assessment, it housed 3 successful businesses on the ground floor, premium office space on floors 2 through 4, and luxury apartments on the top 2 floors. The property generated $142,000 in rental income monthly, but Marcus wouldn't know that. None of them would. Ibraku. To my family, I was still Emma, the 29-year-old who wasted her 20s working as a property manager for someone else's buildings, the one who never went to law school like Marcus, the one who didn't marry rich like my sister Victoria, the one who lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment instead of a house in the suburbs. They had no idea that I owned 17 properties across the city, that my property manager job had been managing my own portfolio for the past 4 years, that my small apartment was a penthouse in a building I owned mortgage-free. I'd learned early that my family measured success by visibility. Marcus's law degree from a prestigious university, Victoria's marriage to a tech executive, their large homes, expensive cars, and country club memberships. Those were the markers of achievement in their world. My success was quieter: buildings that generated passive income, strategic investments in emerging neighborhoods, a portfolio that grew steadily without fanfare. There was no graduation ceremony for becoming a millionaire, no wedding announcement for financial independence. The meeting concluded at 4:15 p.m. I checked my phone again. 3 more texts from Marcus, already deposited the check. Don't be mad. You know the family business needs capital. You should thank me for getting $200,000 for that dump. The family business, Marcus's law firm that he'd opened 18 months ago with Dad's money, was hemorrhaging cash because Marcus spent more on mahogany furniture and premium office space than on actually building a client base. I didn't respond to any of the texts. Instead, I called my attorney. Emma Tom answered on the second ring. What's wrong? My brother just sold one of my properties without my consent, the Morrison building downtown. Silence on the other end. The $8 million property. Your brother sold it. Claims he got $200,000 for it. Tom paused, and I could hear papers rustling. That's fraud, grand theft, possibly multiple felonies depending on how he executed the sale. I know, Tom, this is serious. I know, Tom, I'm not calling to ask what to do. I'm calling to tell you to start the process. Contact the buyer, file the necessary paperwork, and report the fraudulent sale. I want this handled by the book. Understood. I'll need to loop in the police, probably the DA's office given the amount involved. Do what needs to be done. I hung up and drove to my parents' house. It was Tuesday, which meant family dinner, the mandatory weekly gathering where everyone showed up to eat Mom's pot roast and pretend we were a functional family. I arrived at 6:30 p.m., right on time. Marcus's BMW was already in the driveway, parked at an angle that took up enough space for 2 cars. Victoria's husband's Tesla was there too, gleaming white and impossibly clean. Inside, the smell of roasting meat filled the house. Mom was in the kitchen wearing her apron that said Queen of the Kitchen in flowery script. Dad sat in his recliner, watching the financial news, even though his understanding of finance was limited to complaining about taxes. Emma, Mom called out when she saw me. You're here. Marcus just told us the most wonderful news. I set my purse down on the entry table. Did he? About selling that old building of yours. $200,000. Can you imagine for that old thing? She bustled over, wiping her hands on her apron. Marcus said you've been trying to sell it for years. Isn't it wonderful that he finally found a buyer? Hebra, I hadn't been trying to sell it. I'd never mentioned selling it. The building wasn't even listed. Where is Marcus? I asked. In the dining room with your father and Victoria. They're celebrating. I walked into the dining room. Marcus sat at the head of the table, the seat usually reserved for Dad, with a glass of what looked like expensive scotch, Dad's scotch, from the bottle he only opened for special occasions. Victoria and her husband Trevor sat across from each other, also holding glasses. Emma? Marcus stood up, grinning widely. He looked like he'd already had more than one drink. There she is. I was just telling everyone about the sale. Were you? You don't have to thank me. He waved his glass expansively. That's what family does, right? Look out for each other. When I heard Johnson Properties was looking for something in that area, I immediately thought of your building. Figured I'd help you out. Victoria leaned forward. It's really generous of Marcus, Emma. That building has been sitting there doing nothing for years. Has it? I pulled out a chair and sat down. Well, yeah. Victoria exchanged a glance with Marcus. I mean, you've been managing it, but it's not like you own it or anything. You were just taking care of it for whoever owns it, right? Right, I said softly. Trevor, Victoria's husband, spoke up. He worked in tech and always seemed uncomfortable at these family dinners. Actually, I thought Emma mentioned The important thing, Marcus interrupted, is that I got you a great deal. Johnson Properties wanted to lowball at $150,000, but I negotiated up to $200,000. You're welcome. That's my Marcus, Dad said, walking in with his own glass of scotch. Always looking out for his little sister. That's the lawyer in him. Natural negotiator. Abref at $200,000, Mom repeated, following Dad into the room. Emma, sweetie, what are you going to do with all that money? You could finally buy a real house, something with a yard. Marcus leaned back in his chair. Actually, I already deposited the check. The room went quiet. You what? Victoria asked. I deposited it into the firm's account. Marcus shrugged. Emma knows we needed capital. The firm is in a crucial growth phase. Once we're profitable, I'll pay her back with interest. Dad nodded approvingly. Smart thinking. Keep it in the family. Marcus? Mom said slowly. You should have asked Emma first. Why? The money's going to help the family business. Emma's part of the family. It all works out. He turned to me. You understand, right? It's an investment. In 6 months, maybe a year, the firm will be booming. You'll get your money back doubled. I looked at my brother, really looked at him. At 34, Marcus had the kind of confidence that came from never truly failing at anything. Dad had paid for his college, paid for law school, given him $400,000 to start his firm. Every stumble in Marcus's life had been cushioned by family money. Marcus, I said calmly, how exactly did you sell my building? I told you, Johnson Properties. No, how did you execute the sale? The paperwork, the deed transfer. He waved his hand dismissively. Details. I'm a lawyer, Emma. I know how to handle real estate transactions. So, you forged my signature. The room went very still. I didn't forge anything, Marcus said, but his voice had lost some of its confidence. I had power of attorney. No, you don't. Dad gave me power of attorney for family properties years ago. I turned to Dad. Did you? Dad looked uncomfortable. Well, yes, but that was for my properties, not... The building is mine, I said, not Dad's. My name is on the deed, my property tax payments, my tenants. Marcus laughed, but it sounded forced. Come on, Emma. Don't be dramatic. You don't own that building. You manage it. There's a difference. I purchased it in April 2019 for $2.3 million. Cash sale, no mortgage. Would you like to see the deed? Victoria gasped. $2 million? Emma, where would you get $2 million? That's impossible, Marcus said. You were making what? $45,000 a year as a property manager? I made $45,000 working for someone else. Then I started working for myself. Mom sat down heavily. Emma, sweetie, are you feeling okay? Maybe we should... Brooke. I own 17 properties in this city, I continued. The Morrison building downtown that Marcus just fraudulently sold is worth $8.5 million according to the last assessment. It generates $142,000 in monthly rental income. I haven't had a traditional job in 4 years because I don't need one. The silence that followed was absolute. Then Marcus laughed again. That's ridiculous. If you owned properties worth millions, we'd know about it. Would you? You drive a Toyota, a paid-off Toyota that gets good gas mileage. You live in a tiny apartment, a 2,400-square-foot penthouse that I own. No mortgage, no rent. Emma, Dad said carefully, if this is some kind of joke. My phone rang. I glanced at the screen. Tom. Excuse me, I said, standing up. I answered as I walked into the kitchen. Tom. Emma, we have a problem, or rather your brother does. The sale went through a title company called Quick Close Solutions. They specialize in, let's call them, questionable transactions. How questionable? The kind that don't verify ownership too carefully. But here's the thing, they did verify. Your brother presented what appeared to be a legitimate power of attorney document and a copy of the deed. He forged them, almost certainly. The title company is cooperating with us now. They're mortified. Apparently, this is going to cost them their license. They're claiming your brother presented very convincing documentation. What about the buyer? Johnson Properties is legitimate. They thought they were buying from the owner's representative. They're threatening to sue everyone involved. The title company, your brother, probably their own attorney for not catching this. And the $200,000 was already deposited into your brother's law firm account this morning. He must have moved fast. Can we get it back? We can freeze the account. I've already contacted the bank. But Emma, there's something else. Your brother's firm account shows a balance of $47,000 before this deposit. He was already insolvent. I closed my eyes. He was desperate. That would be my assessment. I've also filed a police report, given the amount involved. This is a felony. Multiple felonies, actually. Fraud, forgery, grand theft. The DA's office will likely want to prosecute. Okay, Tom, this is your brother. Are you sure you want to? I'm sure. I hung up and returned to the dining room. Everyone was exactly where I'd left them, frozen in uncomfortable silence. That was my attorney, I said, sitting back down. He's filed a police report. The DA's office will likely file charges tomorrow, fraud, forgery, and grand theft. Marcus stood up abruptly. You're bluffing. The title company is cooperating. They've provided copies of all the forged documents. The buyer is threatening to sue everyone involved. Emma, you're not serious, Victoria said. He's your brother, who just committed multiple felonies. Dad's face had gone red. Now wait just a minute. This family doesn't air its dirty laundry in public. We handle things privately. He stole $8.5 million worth of property. He borrowed against an asset, Dad shouted. That's not stealing. It is when the asset isn't his to borrow against. Ibrahim's mom was crying now. Emma, please think about the family. Think about Marcus's career. A criminal record would destroy him. He should have thought about that before forging legal documents. Marcus's confidence had evaporated entirely. He looked pale. You actually own that building? I actually own that building. But how? You don't have that kind of money. You can't. His phone rang. We all stared at it as it buzzed on the table. The screen showed an unknown number with a local area code. Answer it, I said. Marcus picked up the phone with shaking hands. Hello. I couldn't hear the other end of the conversation, but I watched Marcus's face drain of what little color remained. Yes, this is Marcus Chin. Who is... What? He looked at me, eyes wide. No, I was told... She's my sister, I thought. What do you mean, consent? The voice on the other end grew louder, angry. The city's most valuable... No, that can't be right. It's just an old building. $8.5 million. Marcus sat down hard. But only $200,000, he said. He lowered the phone slowly. That was Johnson Properties' attorney. They're suing me for fraudulent representation and want their $200,000 back immediately, plus damages. They say the building is worth... He couldn't finish the sentence. $8.5 million, I finished for him. Yes. Victoria's phone buzzed. She looked at it and gasped. Oh my God, Marcus, you're trending on Twitter. What? She held up her phone. I could see the headline from across the table. Local attorney sells $8.5 million building without owner's consent. Trevor leaned over to look. That's the Johnson Properties corporate account. They have 200,000 followers. Victoria kept scrolling. Real Estate Weekly picked it up. So did the Legal Times. She looked at Marcus. They're calling it the biggest property fraud case of the year. Ibrahim's dad stood up. This is fixable. We'll hire a better lawyer. With what money? I asked. Marcus's firm is $47,000 in debt, even with the stolen $200,000. You refinanced this house to give him startup capital. Victoria, didn't you and Trevor co-sign his office lease? Victoria went pale. How do you know that? I make it my business to know things about my investments. We're not your investments, Marcus shouted. We're your family. Then why did you steal from me? I didn't steal. I was helping. The firm just needs more time to— The firm is failing, I said. It's been failing since month 3. You have 2 clients, Marcus. Your monthly expenses are $47,000. Your monthly revenue is $6,000. You were never going to make it. Ibrahim's mom was sobbing openly now. Emma, how can you be so cruel? He's your brother. He made a mistake. He committed multiple felonies. My phone rang again. Tom, I answered. The police are on their way to your brother's house, he said. They'll probably arrive within the hour. I wanted to give you a heads up. Thank you. There's something else. The Bar Association got wind of this. They're opening an ethics investigation. Even if your brother isn't convicted criminally, he'll almost certainly lose his license. I looked at Marcus. He'd heard enough of the conversation to understand. His entire body was shaking. Emma, he whispered, please. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I'll fix it. I'll sell my car, the furniture, whatever it takes. Just don't let them arrest me. You can't fix this, Marcus. You don't have $8.5 million. You don't even have $200,000 anymore. The bank froze your account. Brooke of Victoria stood up. This is insane. Emma, you're destroying him over money. It's just money. It's not about the money. I looked around the table at my parents, who'd always valued Marcus's achievements over mine. At Victoria, who'd pitied me for my small life. At Marcus, who'd thought so little of my accomplishments that he believed he could steal from me without consequences. It's about the fact that you all assumed I had nothing worth stealing. Ibro to Dad tried again. Emma, please be reasonable. We can work this out as a family. We don't need lawyers and police. We just need to sit down and— You want to work this out as a family. I stood up. Fine. Here's my offer. Marcus returns the $200,000 immediately, all of it. Then he pays fair market value for the building, $8.5 million, or the sale is voided, and he faces criminal charges for fraud and theft. That's impossible, Marcus shouted. I don't have $8.5 million. Then you shouldn't have sold my building. Emma, Mom pleaded, you can't send your brother to prison. I'm not sending him anywhere. His choices did that. The doorbell rang. We all froze. Dad went to answer it. I heard low voices, then Dad saying, There must be some mistake. 2 police officers appeared in the dining room doorway. Marcus Chin? The taller one asked. Marcus stood slowly. Yes, sir. We have a warrant for your arrest for fraud, forgery, and grand theft. You have the right to remain silent, Mom screamed. Victoria started crying. Dad tried to argue with the officers, explaining that this was all a misunderstanding, a family matter, something that could be resolved without involving the police. Marcus just stood there as they handcuffed him. He looked at me as they led him toward the door. I'm your brother, he said quietly. I know, I replied. That's what makes this so disappointing. Ibrahim. After they left, the house descended into chaos. Mom collapsed into a chair, wailing about her son. Dad started making phone calls, trying to find a criminal attorney who could get Marcus out on bail. Victoria alternated between crying and yelling at me about family loyalty. Trevor pulled me aside in the kitchen. Emma, I know this is complicated, but I need to ask. Victoria and I co-signed Marcus's office lease. If his firm goes under, you'll be responsible for the rent. Yes, that's $8,000 a month for the next 3 years. I know. He ran a hand through his hair. We can't afford that, not with our mortgage and the kids' school. He looked at me carefully. You really own 17 properties? Yes, and you've been listening to us talk about money troubles for years without saying anything? Would you have believed me if I had? He was quiet for a moment. Probably not. He paused. Is there anything you can do about the lease? The building Marcus leased his office in. Who do you think owns it? Trevor's eyes widened. No. I can terminate his lease for cause, given the criminal charges. You and Victoria won't be liable. Why would you do that after what Marcus did? Because you weren't the one who stole from me. And because Victoria is going to have enough problems being married to an ex-con sister. She doesn't need financial ruin on top of it. His expression shifted to something like respect. You're not what I expected. No one ever expects the quiet one to have power. Later that night, after I'd left my parents' house and returned to my penthouse, Tom called with an update. Marcus made bail, $100,000. Your father refinanced his house again. That house must be mortgaged to 3 times its value by now. Close. I'm sending you the preliminary damage assessment. Johnson Properties is demanding the full $8.5 million value plus damages. The title company is facing bankruptcy. Their insurance won't cover fraud, so they're personally liable, and the Bar Association moved fast. Marcus's license is suspended pending investigation. His firm is effectively dead. His 2 clients have already retained other counsel. The office is closed. And here's something interesting. 16 of his creditors have filed claims. His firm owes $340,000 to various vendors, contractors, and suppliers. Let me guess. Dad paid the glamorous expenses. Marcus never paid the boring ones. Exactly. He owes his IT company $23,000. His janitorial service $8,000. His printing company $34,000. All the invisible work that keeps an office running. That sounds like Marcus. One more thing. The story hit the national news. The Wall Street Journal picked it up. Silicon Valley-style fraud comes to Midwest real estate market. You're mentioned as the victim, though they didn't use your name. Great. Tom, my brother is ruined. His career is over. His reputation is destroyed. He'll likely face prison time. Are you okay with that? I looked out my penthouse windows at the city lights, at the skyline that included 4 buildings I owned, at the life I'd built quietly, methodically, without anyone's help or approval. I'm not happy about it, I said, but yes, I'm okay with it. He didn't just steal money, Tom. He stole because he genuinely believed I was worth stealing from, that I had nothing of value, that I was too insignificant to matter. And now everyone knows better. The next morning, my phone started ringing at 6:47 a.m. I let it go to voicemail while I made coffee. By the time I'd finished my first cup, I had 8 voicemails and 14 text messages, all from family members I hadn't heard from in years. Cousins, aunts, uncles, all suddenly very interested in how I was doing, all asking about the terrible situation with Marcus, all carefully dancing around the question they really wanted to ask. Was I really worth $8.5 million? The only message I responded to was from Victoria. I'm sorry for everything, for assuming, for judging, for not defending you when I should have. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I wanted you to know. I texted back, thank you, that means something. Ibrupri. 3 weeks later, Marcus pleaded guilty to fraud and forgery. The DA offered a deal, 5 years probation, full restitution to Johnson Properties, and permanent disbarment. The alternative was trial and likely prison time. He took the deal. The restitution hearing was set for 2 months later. Marcus couldn't pay, Dad couldn't pay. The house was already overmortgaged. Victoria and Trevor had nothing. Johnson Properties was demanding immediate payment or they'd push for jail time despite the plea deal. The night before the hearing, Dad called me. Emma, I'm begging you, as your father, please help him. Help him how? Pay the restitution. You have the money, you could make this all go away. No, he's your brother, your family. How can you be so heartless? He stole from me, Dad. He forged documents, he committed fraud, and he did it all because he thought I was nobody. Because you all thought I was nobody. You did. Every family dinner, every holiday, every gathering. Marcus, the successful lawyer, Victoria, the perfect wife, and Emma, poor Emma, working her little job, living in her little apartment, going nowhere. Dad was silent. I worked for this, Dad. Every building, every investment, every dollar. I did it alone because none of you believed I could. And the first moment Marcus thought he could profit from my work, he stole it without hesitation, without permission, because in his mind, I was too insignificant to matter. If you pay the restitution, he won't go to jail. If I pay the restitution, he learns nothing. I hung up. At the hearing, the judge ordered Marcus to pay $8.5 million in restitution to Johnson Properties at a rate of $2,500 per month. At that rate, it would take him 280 to 4 years to pay it off. He'd also lost his law license permanently, his office, his car, and his reputation. He was 34 years old and starting over with a felony record and no prospects. 6 months after his conviction, Marcus got a job at a property management company, entry-level, $42,000 a year, managing buildings for someone else. Mom called me when she found out. "Are you happy now?" she asked. "Is this what you wanted? Your brother working the kind of job he's overqualified for, barely making enough to survive?" "I worked that exact job for years," I reminded her. "You all thought it was beneath notice then." "That was different. How?" She didn't answer. Ebru. A year after the conviction, Victoria invited me to lunch. We met at a cafe downtown, 2 blocks from a building I owned. "Marcus is doing okay," she said. "He's working hard. He's humble now. He's actually pretty good at property management." "Good. He asks about you sometimes. Wonders if you'll ever forgive him." "I don't know." Victoria stirred her coffee. "You know what's funny? I always thought you were the one who needed help, needed guidance, needed us to show you how to be successful." She looked up. "Turns out you were the only one who figured it out. I had good motivation. I wanted to prove I was worth something. You proved it, did I? Or did Marcus just prove you all wrong?" She smiled sadly. "Both, maybe." We talked for another hour about her kids, her marriage, her life. She never once asked about my properties or my money, just about me. It was the best conversation we'd ever had. 2 years after the conviction, I was having breakfast in my penthouse when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello, Emma. It's Marcus." I almost hung up. "Almost. What do you want?" I wanted to tell you something. I'm leading a training session next week for new property managers. How to spot investment opportunities, how to build a portfolio, and I realized I learned all of it from you." "From me?" "Yeah. When we were kids, you used to talk about buildings and neighborhoods and property values. I thought you were boring. Turns out you were brilliant, and I was too arrogant to see it." "I didn't say anything. I'm not asking for forgiveness," Marcus continued. "I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. What you built, who you are. And I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I'm sorry I had to lose everything to learn what you tried to teach me for free. Marcus, that's all. That's all I wanted to say. Take care of yourself, Emma." He hung up. Ibrich. I sat there for a long time, looking out at the city, at the buildings I owned, at the life I'd built from nothing but hard work and smart choices. My family had thought I was poor because I didn't show off my wealth. They thought I was insignificant because I didn't demand attention. They thought they could steal from me because I seemed too weak to fight back. They'd been wrong about all of it, and now, finally, they knew.